So we don't want to keep you too long, but we're thankful that you are here. And for those of you who don't know who Representative Wheatley is, I'm going to give you just like a little brief overview of State Representative Jake Wheatley. He is a Democrat from Allegheny County, and he was first elected in 2002 to represent the 19th Legislative District, which includes Pittsburgh neighborhoods such as the Hill District, Rep the Hill, come on now, North Side, South Side, Allentown, Hazelwood, Downtown, The Bluff, Knoxville, Belsuver, Manchester, Arlington, Arlington Heights, West, South, and North Oakland. So he's pretty much everywhere. You know, and I think a lot of our kids mostly are from the Hill, but we do have students that are represented from other communities. I met Representative Wheatley, I think, 2003, 2004, and he's always supported OPDC and School to Career back when we were at Breechmenders. For a very long time, we've met with him in Harrisburg when we take our trips there, with advocating for after-school funding. He's a huge supporter, so we are honored to have him here today, and thank you so much, Representative Wheatley, for coming to speak to us. So I'm going to mute everyone. And like I said, if you all have questions, you can use the reaction feature and put your hand up, or you can submit it in the chat to either everyone or to one of the staff people, Kathy, Jeremy, or School to Career, or myself. So I'm going to mute everyone, and I'm going to unmute Representative Wheatley. Let's see, let me find him. Where'd you go? All right, you are unmuted and everyone else is muted.
All right, so how do you want to begin? How do you want me, how do you want me to start?
So I guess a lot of our students are concerned about, of course, what's happening now, but primarily what's happening in their communities, how it is going to impact them educationally, economically, their families. You know, some may be working, some may not be working. I know some of our students that were employed are no longer employed, and just how the state is handling it, and mainly what's happening in the Hill District.
Sure. So let me begin by saying thank you for inviting me today, and I want to encourage everyone that's in the class to continue to follow the governor's stay-at-home order. Although I'm out, I think it's important that we continue to, as much as we can, only leave for life-sustaining moments, and what that means is those things that are essential for you to continue to live a healthy and productive life. And I know there are some questions about, does that mean we have to stay in our houses all the time? It does not. You can leave your house and wear a mask if you are leaving the house, and if you want to walk around your neighborhood for some air or exercise, or if you're going to find a place where you can social distance anything 6 feet and more from someone else, you can certainly do that to get to break up the monotony of being around your house all the time. But the important thing is to try to limit your contact and exposure to other people for your benefit and for theirs. What's happening now is really unprecedented. We've never seen this in Pennsylvania, and certainly in this country in a while. And so one of the things that we are faced with is the fact that people have been mandated to kind of shut down their businesses and to not be able to go to work, which means our unemployment claims have skyrocketed. I mean, we went from a monthly claim report that mostly 40,000 people was one of our lowest points in our history, to one of our highest. I mean, the highest that we've ever seen. Over 1.2 million people are filing for unemployment. That means they're not able to work. They're looking for some support for their not being able to work. The same thing for many of our business men and women that's not in these deemed essential businesses. They cannot open up their shops. So you have barbers, stylists, nail technicians, people who are in the gig economy that drive Lyft and Uber. These people can't go to work like they normally would have. And so the government and the state, led by the feds, but the state government is trying to find ways to financially support them through this difficult time. in the Hills specifically. You know, today they had a big food distribution thing from the PPG, from the arena. They've had some smaller, you know, check-ins with our seniors and many of our high rises. There are a lot of our social service agencies who, although they're not physically open anymore, they still have their volunteer efforts going on to make sure services that are needed to the community is still being served. But there are going to be a massive undertaking after we come out of this stay-at-home order that we have to make sure. So first, we're trying to get through a relief effort, get us through this immediacy of what's happening right now. And then we're going to be working on the recovery efforts to try to make sure communities like the Hill District, who were already, you know, faced with some things that, some social and economic things that they put them behind the eight ball, that we're going to have to double down and make sure when we do this recovery that they come back in a way to live a high quality life. So I don't know if that's all that, you know, we can get into the questions, but there are a lot of efforts right now. The federal government, a lot of what we're doing is relying on the federal government because the state just can't afford or doesn't have the resources to do it all. We're trying to support the healthcare workers right now. The governor has released $50 million new dollars to try to help purchase equipment for healthcare and frontline personnel because we had a shortage nationally. He also just announced another $450 million advance that he's going to give to the healthcare system to try to make sure we're shoring up and backing that system up, because right now it's very important that we handle the healthcare demand. And the positive, I will say this for Allegheny County, unlike other places, other large cities and counties, Allegheny County has seen not so much of a spike. They've kind of seen a decrease of the numbers that's coming into our hospitals right now. That's been the last couple of days. They have seen a decrease in the numbers. They are lowering the projections of what they think the spike will look like for us over the next 10 or 14 days. But that means we have to continue to sorry about that. That's someone was calling in for me. We have to continue to do the social distancing. I think we've done a great job so far. But the one thing I want to emphasize to our young people on this phone, because I know as I do my drive around and look around, a lot of young people are still out and about in groups, unprotected. I think that is a challenge for us because we haven't seen the widespread testing in African American communities. Although I was on a call today with the healthcare systems of both UPMC and Allegheny Health Network and County Health Department, and they expressed that they are testing at a rate that is that's correlating to our population. So there's not like we're seeing an under testing of those African Americans that are showing symptoms. But I still want to encourage our young people because what we're seeing is younger people coming into the healthcare system. Younger African Americans are coming into the healthcare system because primarily they're being hit at higher numbers than what we would expect. And I'm suspecting that's because a lot of our young people aren't taking it as serious as they should be. And one of the things I want to encourage you is you don't have to show, many people transmit this virus and they don't show any symptoms, or they show very little symptoms. But and it may not be a danger to them per se, but then it becomes a danger to anyone that they interact with. So if you're interacting with your moms, your dads, your grandmas, your granddads, or your uncles or aunts, you might be impacting them and not even knowing it. So that's one of the reasons we really want to encourage our young people to take this serious and really try to protect themselves and the people that they love. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Jeremy, do you have questions? Because I got kicked out, so all of my chats are gone. I'm sorry.
No apologies necessary. I'm going to see if turning my video back on. It's working now. So first of all, Representative Wheatley, I know you told me multiple times to call you Jake. Never going to be comfortable with that. So Representative Wheatley, first of all, thank you again for being here. Something that I was wondering, and it's a question that has popped up with a few in a few different of our sessions that we hold daily with our students, is So this pandemic, of course, has magnified and made much more visible a lot of the disparities that have existed for a long time, nationwide and in our communities specifically. And of course, there's always going to be a certain amount of red tape and going back and forth between state, municipal, federal agencies. But what are the biggest changes that you'd like to see happen? And if you can share, what have been the biggest hindrances, the biggest blockades in your way to getting those changes made?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we're talking to our policymakers and leaders right now about, there's a group of us, we call ourselves the Pittsburgh Black Elected Officials Coalition, and we've been working for the last 3 years to try to really get our hands on, as you know, the statistics for African Americans in the city and in the region have been deplorable for years. Matter of fact, a report came out and talked about how this is the worst place for African Americans, but particularly African American women in the country. And one of the things we've been talking about is how we flip the dynamics of the system, because this is a system issue more than it is a pandemic issue or anything else. Systemically, we've seen these disparities, and we have to change the dynamic. So one of the biggest challenges is get people in these positions and policy positions to think about this not as where we want to just focus on a crisis situation, but you should always look at it from an equity lens. So when we're looking at this, it's kind of like when we pushed out money to support businesses, right? We did it on a first come, first served basis. Well, just that process right there shows that we don't understand the dynamics, because African-American businesses probably aren't as prepared right when we open up the floodgates for resources to come in the flood, because they may not have the business relationships. They may not even know about it from a communication standpoint. They don't have accountants. They don't have people helping them to process this paperwork. So when you do first come, first serve, you automatically going to put them at a disadvantage. So what we've been trying to do is really push those systems to say, okay, you need to carve out and be intentional about those communities that were already behind. You need to carve out resources to make sure that they don't miss out, and that they're not the last one at the table. And so that's been something we've really been pushing over the last couple of weeks, because we know there's a real need, a real energy to try to get money out in the streets to help people. But if you just push it out that way and say whoever can come through, you're going to miss a lot of people. And primarily those people you're going to miss are those people who are Black, brown, and in lower socially economic communities. So we've really been trying to work hard to get that message out. The biggest barrier is whenever you have a crisis, people don't really want to listen to that, because it takes more time to think about how you do that, especially when the system is not set up to do it that way. So you always run into the challenge of people saying, look, we have an urgency of now. We'll talk about that later. So we're trying to really get that included in all the conversations as we are moving things. And it's the same thing as you try to invest in these resources for the healthcare system. Those hospitals or those systems that are directly impacting lower income communities and Black and brown communities, they need to receive the resources first, in my opinion, because you have more of a challenge. So if you have PPEs or that personal protective equipment, and you have health home care workers who are going into the houses for those seniors who need those services, you need to make sure that they are protected, and that their families are protected, and that they're getting the resources that they need, as well as the big hospital systems, because I think they're both important, and making sure the systems are reflecting that importance. So that's what we're trying to do.
Awesome, thank you. And then I'm sorry. No, I was just hoping to check in. Shaquela, one of our students, had a great question that we discussed yesterday in our SREF session. And I'm wondering, Quay, would you be willing to re-ask that question? Because I think it's really the one about locking down and the difference between how we're reacting to this and the way that some other countries are. I thought it would be really appropriate for today's session.
Okay, yeah. Yesterday I asked why the U.S. wasn't initiating a full lockdown like how the other countries were, like a curfew. And the reason why I asked that is because in America we all can see that.
Wait, she went
Oh,
back.
Quay, you're muted. Oh no, there she is. Ah,
We're both unmuting hers.
I won't touch.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, I was saying, why don't we initiate a lockdown just like how the other countries were, like a curfew? Because in our country, it's like we don't really seem to listen as Americans, or we don't take stuff as seriously as we're supposed to. And one of the things that Mr. Jeremy brought up was because of, like, as a whole country, people look, well, it's like freedom. But I wanted to like actually like find out why we aren't actually taking that step forward to do that, as we have like the most cases of corona now than the other countries that it started in.
Yeah, constitutionally speaking, it's very hard to lock down free citizens. I mean, you can do it. I mean, it would require a marshaling of a law enforcement effort that I don't think anyone really wants to deploy. I think it will be very difficult to do it in a way that that doesn't also spread panic and fear. Again, we live in a country that's different than, say, China. China was able to create that edict, and then they were able to put military people on the street to make sure that if someone violated that order, there were immediate punishments that I don't think in this country we would adhere to. And so it's much more difficult to have a national lockdown in our country. I think you're seeing, even with the governor, when these governors of the different states said we want to do a stay-at-home order, which is essentially saying a lockdown. We see people not really paying attention to that because there's no real enforcement behind it. There's no law officer coming to you once they see you on the street and saying, hey, get back in your house or you're getting arrested. A matter of fact, we don't even have the system to if people did disobey it, we don't even have a system to what we would do with them, because are we going to fine you, which adds more financial barriers to you, or we're going to put you in a correctional institution where we're trying to figure out how to ways to let people out of our correctional institutions because this spread is damaging to them. So I think it's much harder for us in a democratically elected, free will, free system of the one that we govern ourselves under, to have a national lockdown and then to enforce it, because without the enforcement, people aren't going to abide by it anyway. And I think law enforcement will tell you right now, they really don't know if they have the capacity to enforce some of the stuff that we're asking them to do, even with the stay at home.
Good question. The next one is from Nicoye. Let me find you. Nicoye, can you ask your question, please?
Yeah. All right. So I have said, is there a way that we can make younger people stay home? Because like
I can't really hear him. I'm not sure if it's my phone or.
Yeah, I think it's Nicoye.
I think he said, is there a way to make younger people stay home?
Right, because he doesn't think they're taking it seriously.
So I'm wondering, because we're not used to being in the house.
Oh, you're not used to being in the house, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I think this is a very. I think this is a very. Is he still talking? I'm sorry.
no, I'm muted. I thought I muted him. Yeah, he's muted.
Okay. This is a very. This is the heart of some of the question I think Jeremy was getting to, or at least part of the challenge we have, especially in neighborhoods like the Hill District. A lot of our young people, even before the pandemic, they didn't have the same support systems that other young people had. Some of our young people are being reared by older adults, their grandparents or whatever. And so enforcing or trying to enforce the edict of stay at home is going to be a particular challenge, especially when we don't all have the same types of homes and the same types of supports at home. And so not trying to be punitive, because, we would like to say to young people, as part of your responsibility, even though you don't necessarily see the dangers that this virus can cause, we all have a role to play to try to mitigate the spread. But there's nothing we could, there's nothing. There are things that we can do to try to encourage young people to stay at home. That's one of the reasons why you see the city shut down the basketball courts and the tennis courts, and you know they're trying not to be punitive by saying we're going to cite you, because you know in a time where people are already financially strapped, you're not trying to add more burdens to them about finding them because of their kids, but they are citing some. I know of several instances where young people went to a basketball court that was opened up for them. It was inside, but it was opened up to them. The police found out about it, went to the place, and they cited all of those kids. Now, the first time they cited them, it was for warnings. But they also notified their parents or their guardian, and they said, look, your child, you have to come get your child. We have them in the facility downtown, and they cited the facility that was open. And so I think those are the type of things we're trying to do. But the best way to get young people to adhere to something is to try to educate them more thoroughly about why it's important for them to do it, and to connect it to their lives. Because again, I know when I was young, I thought I was invincible too. I was looking at this. I would be looking at this thinking it's just a flu or it's just a cold. I'm gonna get through it. But what's wrong? What's the problem with that is, you know, they have vaccinations for those things. They have medicines for those things. We don't have it for this one, and you're putting people that you love and care about in danger, as well as yourself. And I told you at Allegheny County, we're seeing more young people come into the hospital system. And I think if you really knew what was happening with these ventilators, and again, the reason why we're trying to get in front of this, the reason why they're going through these drastic stay-at-home thing is we don't want to overwhelm our healthcare system.
Right.
Because we don't have all of the equipment, not only to deal with the COVID, but if we get overwhelmed because of the COVID situation and the ventilators are all used for that, those other people who come in for other very life-threatening illnesses and conditions, then we are short. Then the doctors have to make a decision between which one do I want to save first, and we never want to have our healthcare system making those type of decisions.
Excellent, excellent. We have one more question. Ranique, I'm going to unmute you.
It's my question right now, but what's something that we could learn from this pandemic to help us in the future?
One, the fact that we already knew it, but one of the things we have to do as a country is get better at connecting all of our communities and making sure we have equity of technology. Because imagine the people who don't have smartphones or who aren't on social media,
right,
or who don't have, you know, the connectivity from their home, internet and Wi-Fi from their homes. Imagine how they are missing out on a lot of information and how it's coming, and potentially putting them in danger from not knowing what's happening around them. If you know, I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, you can listen to the news. Well, the news is not getting you every piece of information in the same way and at the same speed. So one of the things we're learning as a system is we must do a better job of connecting, even around the educational delivery. Right. You notice when we had to shut down schools and kids had to go into the homes, a lot of our kids didn't have access. So we can't even deliver equitable educational opportunities to them. So we're learning that as a system, that we must do that. So that's going to be something. We also learned as a system that it's very important, our institutions, our capacity of our institutions. For example, we have nonprofits right now, like the food bank, the Greater Food Bank, that are supplying, they're essentially supplying food resources to most of our families in this region. And we weren't really funding them well before, but in that this pandemic is showing us that we have to keep those organizations well stocked and their capacity well stocked, because the need is great out here, and we have to have systems in place. And the last thing I will say is that this pandemic has showed us that our system, it exacerbated the reality of our system being unfair and unequitable.
Excellent question. We have one more. Serena, are you ready for your question?
Miss Carla, it looks like
Not yet.
Ramon and Brianna Williams also have questions once
Okay.
Serena.
Perfect. Go ahead, Serena.
So my question was, well, it's kind of a long one actually. I said, what about the seniors? Like, I understand that the virus is very serious, but like from the news, it seems like the social distancing is working, and I feel like it was just such an early decision for us not to go back to school for the rest of this school year. And the way my school is set up, it's like we actually do go to school in the summertime, so like it's I feel like it was like a really early decision for us like not to go back to school for the rest of the year. Like prom, graduation, like all that stuff is ruined, and it's like the seniors don't even have like a school year no more. And a lot of people can't even focus at home when it comes to like online schooling. So like, what are we supposed to do? Like, I know what we're supposed to do, but like, why was it like such an early decision for us not to go back to school?
So I think the governor and his cabinet really tried to be patient, and before they made the declaration about canceling school for the rest of the school year, I think they were getting pressured by a lot of factors. I mean, in order for the districts to kind of really plan, the districts needed to know, are you going to require us to still hold school, or are we going to have the freedom to plan for next school year? And I think that some of the pressures around that. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. No one knows right now if by April the 30th, we will come out of, and matter of fact, I think it's probably more likely than not that the governor will extend the stay at home past April 30th, because although in Allegheny County we see good signs, we don't see good signs all across the Commonwealth. They're still trying to develop a vaccination that can deal with it. Until we have a real vaccination for this virus, we're never going to be sure if we can ever go back to some semblance of normalcy. So I think knowing that we're going to go into May, or seeing like we're going to go into May with a shutdown, I think the governor made a decision that it makes no sense to keep these districts holding on, because even if we went back, say we go back in the middle of May, which I doubt too, I really suspect that we're going to probably not get out of our shutdown order until probably the end of May, maybe beginning of June. So I think the gov is trying to tell the districts, okay, do what you can with the online or some other form to try to finish out this year, but we're shutting you down. And I've heard from several sources that whenever we get this pandemic or come out of this pandemic, there are organizations that are going to hold regional proms for our graduating seniors. They are going to try to put together some type of ceremony so seniors can walk across some type of state. It may not be from your particular school. It may be a universal thing. But I know that there are people who are planning. We just need to know when can we actually do it. But there are people who are planning several types of prom opportunities. Again, it won't be the same as maybe your school having it, but they're going to try to give an experience for these graduating seniors so that you at least be able to say you were able to do some of the things that other prior years have been able to do.
But how are we supposed to do that if like they're saying that we're not even supposed to have like events over 10 people because how serious this thing is?
This will be after we come out of the stay at home. This will be after the order is lifted.
So this is like after like quarantine and everything like that.
Right.
So if quarantine lasts longer than what it's supposed to be, and like kids are in college now, what are we supposed to do?
I think that is something I don't think people are anticipating. And if we got to that point, I'm assuming that then it probably wouldn't happen. But I think people are anticipating the opportunity that we'll be released from quarantine sometime in June, possibly in July. And during those months, have some events where some of our seniors would have a chance to experience some of the things that they would have normally experienced.
I have another question. So I was talking to my friend. Miss Carla got me started. So like,
No problem.
so I feel
Miss Carla.
if we're stuck in the house, I don't even feel like us being in the house is gonna like it's going to work like for numbers and stuff like that, but I feel like people are going to get so frustrated from being home all the time. I feel like I'm not a type of person to think negative, but I feel like something bad's going to happen, like a riot, something, because I feel like people are just going to get so sick and tired of being in the house. And it's like people who are so used to being outside, they probably feel like they're being punished and stuff like that. And it's not a punishment, it's so people can get better. But it's like, what are people really supposed to do? Like, if you, like, people really think that being in the house for almost 6 months or 5 months, however long this has been, I don't even know. But it's like, it feels forever.
It's one.
For a whole year. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's torture.
And Serena, so one of the things, and I'm sorry, Representative Wheatley, I hope you don't mind me usurping a little bit, but the thing to remember is that while Representative Wheatley has a lot of answers for us, and we're incredibly grateful for all of them, these questions that you're asking are really important questions, but they're not necessarily questions that we have answers to. Right. And that, I think, for all of us is one of the scariest parts of this experience, is that usually when something happens that's scary or dangerous or, you know, upsetting in any way, we look for the experts. But unfortunately, because this is an unprecedented situation, there isn't anybody who has any expertise based on experience. They can only figure out based on their experiences with other viruses and other pandemics, like the SARS pandemic, which is also a member of the coronavirus family, and Ebola, which was handled really well by a few different African countries a few years ago. All the best we can do is our best at guessing, and it's an educated guess, but it's still, all of this is still theory. So you're asking really important questions, but these are the questions that we're all going to have to figure out the answers to together. And that's a frustrating answer because it's not really a satisfying one, but for a lot of folks, that's the best answer we can give you right now. And it's frustrating for us. I mean, Ms. Carla and I have spent a lot of time talking about how frustrating it is not to be able to give you hard, solid answers to these questions. Because we like to be able to take your problems and just fix them for you the best we can. But this time it's just something we're going to have to figure out as we go along.
Right.
And on the staying at home issue, listen, I'm one of the, I hate being in the house. You know, I feel the same anxiety that you feel about being in the home. But I'm going to tell you, usually speaking though, you're not confined to your home. What you are confined, what we're trying to stress to folk is we want to limit your exposure in any unsafe way to other people, because it could cause a danger to them and to you. So the social distancing thing is important to remember in the confines of the stay-at-home order too. Now, the governor said, don't come outside your house unless it's life-sustaining. I'm giving you a little tweak to that, because part of life-sustaining is your mental health.
Yes.
So you don't have to sit in your house and look at the four walls and think that that's safe. I'm saying when you come outside your house, put a mask on, be cognizant of being around too many people, but you can come outside your house. You can walk around your neighborhood. You try to keep the space in between you and the next person. You try to make sure you're not touching things, or when you do touch things, you make sure you're washing your hands. You can take precautions to make it safe. So I'm not saying confine yourself to your house. I am saying don't go out and get with your friends and go play basketball or go play soccer, or but you can have some conversation with your friends with some distance between you and them, and you don't touch them, you don't hug them, but you can do some of these things where you can have social interaction, but you're trying to be safe with it. And so again, I don't want you to think that you can't come outside your house at all. Your mental health, for me, I have to get out. An hour every day, I'm going out. I'm walking around. I'm going to stretch my legs. I'm going to get some fresh air. I'm going to do that, because otherwise I would be insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think the next question.
Brianna.
Brianna Williams.
Brianna.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right.
Can we see you? You muted yourself. Brianna, we can't hear you. Okay.
There we
Can you
go.
hear me now?
Yes.
Can we see you?
Hold on, let me see myself.
All right. There you go. Thank
You
you.
see me?
Yes.
Okay. So, hi everyone. I'm Brianna.
Hello.
Hi, Brianna.
So, basically, what I wanted to say a little bit of stuff because, like, I don't know, like, it makes sense. Like, this virus, it makes sense to me, but like, when I just really sit back and think, because, like, okay, so we all know the flu, right?
Yes.
So the flu, it kind of did the same thing this virus is doing, which is, you know, getting people sick and then they end up passing away or something like that, right?
A little more deadly, but go ahead.
Yeah. So if the flu was a little bit more deadly, I just want to know, like, how come they didn't do all this when the flu was here? Like, how come they didn't close down our schools? They told people to stay in. Because I think the flu like airborne? Like, this virus, it isn't even airborne. Like, I don't understand, like, you know?
Sorry, this virus, I'm sorry, this virus actually is airborne. So this virus, and that's part of the problem. I'm sorry, Representative Wheatley, if you'd rather take this, I apologize. I'm sorry, this is your forum. All right, so sorry to steal your lightning. So there are a few things. So first of all, really, really good question and really important question. The issue is that, so the flu, when this first came out, everybody was saying, well, the flu kills more people every year than this is kill people, right? The difference is that when you have the flu, you present with symptoms, right? With this virus specifically, one of the differences is that the majority of people that they found so far who are testing positive, and part of the issue is that there aren't tests available for enough people yet to be able to see how many people are actually infected and how many aren't. But this virus, the majority of people that they anticipate who are going to get this virus aren't going to show symptoms. So they're going to be able to pass this virus on to other people thinking that they're healthy when really they're not. And then the people they pass it on to who maybe have a compromised immune system because of medications they're on, if they're undergoing chemotherapy or radiation treatments for cancer, even if you have like a skin condition and you're taking a steroid or something like psoriasis, those will suppress your immune system. And those people will develop symptoms where you might not have. The other thing is that, well, with the flu, the average person who gets the flu passes it on to on an average, 1 and 2 people. This virus, the average person passes it on to between 3 and 5 people. So it's not only more catching, so it's more contagious, and you can pass it on without showing symptoms, but the death rate of this virus, just so far, compared to the flu, which, like you said, kills a lot of people every year, and they're not telling people to socially distance, the death rate is between 4 and 15 times higher than the normal flu. So the problem is that a lot of the news that's being reported is based off of current numbers, and those numbers, especially in our country, are lower than other countries, although they're growing because we got to the testing game very late. And then the other issue with that is that the testing, the numbers, we also were, because of the distance that this had to travel and how big our country is compared to countries like Italy and France and Germany that are doing really extreme things, it's because our country is more spread out, it's taking us longer to implement a lot of these changes too. So a lot of what you're saying makes a lot of sense logically, but we don't have all of the information to inform our decisions yet. In 6 months or so, nobody's going to be saying this is just like the flu.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, please, absolutely.
Okay, so, and another reason why I kind of felt like this was like, it wasn't really real was because I was on social media and there was a live video of an older man. He was going live, but like he was also at the hospital. You know, he was explaining to everybody about, you know, the COVID area. I mean, the COVID situation. So he was basically saying that he was supposed to be going to the hospital the next day for a checkup because, you know, things like that. And he said that he went and they sent him to the pharmacy to get a certain medicine. I'm not sure what the medicine was called, but he said he took the medicine and he got worse, like he got more sick than what he already was, because I guess he was sick and he got more sick. So then he said that he went to the hospital, they kept him for a few weeks, and he said that 6 different doctors told him he did not have the coronavirus, but they had to test him and act like he did have it. So I was just, you know, sitting there, and then he was talking to somebody from the news or something like that, because like the lady was asking him certain questions and he was explaining. So I was just, you know, watching it, and I watched it twice, you know, just to sim everything in. So it was just all like, what's going on, like, you know?
And that's the difficulty too, is that Fox News, actually, there's a lawsuit against Fox News by a nonprofit in Washington State, where the first major group of deaths in the United States took place because so many news stations are reporting things that haven't come from the Centers for Disease Control or some other federal or state agency that makes sure that all of the information being reported is correct. About 20, 30 years ago, the laws that said that news organizations had to report vetted facts, those regulations were rolled back. So news organizations are no longer required to only report fact, unfortunately. And that's where a lot of this misinformation is coming from. So a lot of people are working with information that isn't complete, and a lot of people are working with information they've gotten from social media. And while one case might say, you know, I'm pretty sure this isn't real, I think that the country of Italy at this point, and you know, the state of Washington and New York State, China, I mean, there are a lot of places, more places than are saying it's fake, are saying this is very real and you need to take it seriously. So while I'm not trying to poo-poo your question or make you feel silly for asking it, I want to make sure that there is no question this is a very serious issue and we need to take it as serious as it calls for.
Right. Representative Wheatley, did you have a comment on Brianne's question before we move to the next one?
Oh, that was perfect.
Yeah, that was. Thank you both.
Can I piggyback off what she said really fast?
Oh, Coy, you're okay.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, so as far as like flu vaccines, there's already people that don't even like taking that vaccine because they already think that the flu isn't what it really is, and the government's powerful, and who are we to really trust what's really going on? So I just wanted to ask, what if there's like people that don't want to take this so-called new vaccine for the corona? What if they think it's something else? Because there are theories and conspiracy theories that it may be something that is not what it is. So I just want to know, like, what if that also arises, just like how the flu shot has as well?
Good question.
Yeah, I wouldn't anticipate anyone being forced to take a vaccine that they don't want to take. I think what I'm saying is we couldn't get back to some level of normalcy until they really figure out how they can you know, vaccinate this, because the worry is we'll get through this first kind of wave, and then there will be an additional wave. Now, some are even predicting this could be seasonal. So the reason why they want to come up with a vaccination is for those who do want to protect themselves, or to or at least lessen the chances of them getting this virus or some variation of it. You know, they want to have that available, but I can almost guarantee you there will be no forcing of people to take a vaccination if they don't want it.
Right.
Well, okay, I do believe that, but isn't it like, in order for kids to go to school, you have to have certain vaccines anyway? So, right? Okay. Or did they like change that?
No.
So.
Yeah, but parents, we have given parents the ability to opt out of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I think we've had Ramon on hold. Ramon, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear now.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Your question, it was a while. I think
Thank you for your patience, Ramon.
Junior
transcripts getting messed up.
Yeah, I was trying to get back to it.
Yeah, how's that going to work? Because like we didn't finish the semester, so like our transcripts are like I know like the seniors are already graduated, so they like know what school they're going to, but like the juniors, our transcripts messed up, and we like need that to like graduate, right? Like
you'll have the opportunity. Representative Wheatley, your transcript will reflect third quarter because you were there for the majority of the third quarter, and your fourth quarter is starting next week. So they're going to take the grades that you have from April until June, and that will be your fourth quarter. Am I correct, Representative Wheatley, or is there something different?
No, so one of the challenges that we're trying to figure out, I mean, I'm not sure how it all will be reported out, because there was some concern that if a student was behind in the third quarter, how does that reflect as they move forward? I think this is all so new, and I hate to say it this way, but I think it's all so new. A lot of these issues we're going to have to kind of take on and work through, because no one was prepared for what we eventually got hit with. And when I say that, I don't think these districts were prepared that they were going to be shut down, and that the possibility of they wouldn't be coming back in a physical building, because there is going to be some issues around some of our special needs students in this process. How do we ensure where they can't come online and just do that by themselves or online? They need additional support, but we're in a position where we can't really support them hand to hand. So I think there's still, I know the department is working on some guidelines. I'm not sure if they've all come out, but they're working on some guidelines for districts. But as this develops, those are some of the questions that we're going to have to deal with.
Good question, Ramon.
Yeah.
Wait, so I have,
Okay.
I have another one. So
Okay.
like, how is online school going to even work? Like, are we going to be on FaceTime with our teachers, or like they're just going to give us stuff on Google Classroom or something?
I think they're going to try to do a little bit of both. There's a meeting on Monday that at 6 o'clock that is going to talk about how that's going to be set up. The district is still trying to figure all that out. I know I've received different emails saying that they're looking at different technology so that they can get actual assignments to you all. But I think the technology piece was one of the biggest issues that they were trying to work out first, and making sure the teachers were able to use the technology to engage the classroom either virtually or through Google Classroom or what's it called? Edgenuity. There's quite a few. Clever was one of them. So there are quite a few different sources.
Utopia.
Yeah.
And to the point though, they still have a large technology gap. I mean, they're going to seniors first, but I mean, in the district, there's a lot of families that are K through 11 that don't have technology, and there's still not a good plan, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know what the latest and greatest to how to get all of those students and all of those various grade levels. And I'm still not saying 100% sure that 100% online learning is going to be effective for all of our students. I think there are some students that they can breeze through the online learning and probably be okay. And there are going to be other students that no matter what we do with the online learning, we're going to have another component to it. And I'm just not sure how we get it done. But I know that this year is going to be a special year. And there are a lot of people in the departments and in the districts who are trying to figure out how to deliver the educational outcome that we all want.
Absolutely. I think Jay Moore, you have a question. Are you ready? Jay Moore?
Yeah, 1 second. 1 second, I'll be right back.
Okay, we'll come back to Jay Moore. I think Catrice has a question.
Hold on.
Okay, nobody's ready. I can go to Mama. Are you ready?
Sure. You're good.
Mama had a question.
No.
Nope, your question. Okay.
Well, one thing I did want to say though about it being possibly seasonal, as Ms. Carla said, was that keep in mind, I'm the nerdy history teacher of the crew, so I'm going to bring you all a little bit of history because those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it. The Spanish flu in the late 19 teens and the early 1920s killed a lot of people. And there was some talk initially by our government, our federal government, that people are saying that maybe once it gets warm, that because these kind of viruses don't survive as well in warm weather, that the virus will start to die off and that people will start to get better. And that's true with the Spanish flu. Now keep in mind, the Spanish flu killed more people than all of the previous large-scale wars combined in modern history, right? So the Spanish flu was incredibly, incredibly infectious. Also, it didn't start in Spain, it started in the United States, so keep that in mind. But although the Spanish flu did kind of go away over the summer, the way that the US government said at the very beginning, it also came back that fall and killed more people that fall and winter than it did the entire previous year. So to answer the question about, the vaccines and that kind of thing, just as Representative Wheatley said, the reason that we're working so hard to develop vaccines and why it's so cool that Pitt and UPMC have been developing these earlier than a lot of other folks is that even if the virus goes away for now, it doesn't mean it's gone. And in addition, like I said before, this virus, you can carry it for, up to 2 weeks. Some people are saying up to a month and not show symptoms. And then even a week after you recover from it, be able to shed the virus and infect people. So this is more contagious than anything else we've seen before like this, and that's what makes it so dangerous.
Okay, Jay Moore.
I completely forgot my question.
Really, sorry, Jay.
We have to go back and find it. The recovery protocol.
Oh yeah, I wanted to know, like, after the stay-at-home order will be like released, if it does, what will the recovery protocol be like?
I can't speak 100% to how the governor and his team will lay it out, but I think they have a balanced approach. I think there'll be, they've been talking about the release of some people if they can find. They're asking this question: if people who have already been impacted by the virus, can they get it again, or once they have it, are they immune? If they answer that correct, that they are, that's the overwhelming assumption that they would be kind of immune from getting the same strand again. That those types of people who are less likely to get it, they'll start releasing their abilities to come out and go back to work. There'll be some industries that they will try to get back online, because not only is this a health issue, it's turning out to be one of our biggest economic issues as well. So they will start to try to vet certain industries, and can they still keep some of the protocols of social distancing in place, or limit the exposure to some of the workers and some of the customers. So they'll start. So I'm assuming you'll see gradual releasing of certain industries back online. Certain groups of people will be kind of marked as they're more likely to be okay out and about, and you'll start to see and hear about those type. And then eventually, after their period of time, maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month, you'll see them slowly try to open up everybody back out. But they'll be very cautious around those who have medical conditions that are prone to this virus being deadly, and our seniors. They'll be slow with those groups. Probably be the last ones. They'll be slow with open up mass crowds coming back in one location. So even if you see sporting opportunities come back online, they're probably going to be without audiences. So you'll see that slow roll out, and eventually, after a period of time of those being okay, you'll see an opening up back into some form of normalcy. So even after the stay-at-home probably is lifted, you're going to see several months of, groups of people still being impacted by some form of a stay-at-home edict before you'll see the whole thing. So it won't just go from April 30th, then we back to everybody come out, everybody do what we were doing before March 13th. That's not going to be that, but it'll be a slow rollout.
Okay. All right, one more question, Catrice. Look, I didn't think we were going to hold you hostage this long.
That's all good.
Thank you. Catrice, oh, there you go.
Okay. So, I don't know if this was already answered, but will we have curfews and lockdowns in the future? Was this already answered?
So let me keep saying you're not on curfew. So let's take that off. You're not on curfew, but we are in a stay-at-home order, and I can't predict if we'll have them. I think the governor, his desire is to try to get us through this major period, learn from this, and then figure out a way for us to, not have to have so many of our people under a stay-at-home. And I think, again, if we see that this is coming back and it's spreading quicker, or we thought we were out from under it and it starts to spread around quickly, I think we could potentially come back to this or something similar to this. But my anticipation is with this governor and his team, we're going to come out of this in such a balanced way that I don't anticipate us having to come back. But if he saw the numbers start to go back in the wrong direction, I don't think he would hesitate then to reissue it. But I think his hope is that we would do this one time and one time only.
Thank you. I think Austin has something.
Can I ask one quick question?
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. This is about the economy since Jake Wheatley mentioned it about economics. So in history, I learned about Germany after World War II and how they suffer from inflation and money. And I was wondering if we're going to have to go through that as well, since I'm not too sure if we are in a recession or if we will be in a recession. But I wanted to know, like, how our money, like, is money going to be worth anything, or are we going to be put in the same situation Germany was after World War II? Because I went to cash my check like a couple days ago, and like she mentioned to me, yeah, you might want to like get like a credit card or like a card or like a bank account because like money might not be worth anything. So I wasn't too sure about that.
So listen, we are in the early stages of figuring out where we are, not just from a healthcare perspective and economic perspective. But I'm going to tell you this: we've never seen numbers like the numbers we are experiencing since the Great Depression. I mean, the fact of the matter, we have the last number I saw, 6.6 million new Americans filing for unemployment, which is, I mean, that's astronomical. That's something that we would have never. In Pennsylvania alone, 1.2 million of our 12 million citizens are now filing for claims. Our businesses are being closed and shut down. So it's not that I'm going to say money won't matter. I'm saying we have to be balanced, and we have to figure out what we need to do to get our economy back. And it's not going to come back just because people start going back to work, because when people go back to work and we start opening up industries again, there's going to be a time that we're going to have the ramp up for the manufacturing of goods and products, people to do certain things. I mean, imagine, are you just going to come out of your house and go right into, a restaurant and sit with a group of 50 other people that we just came out from a quarantine? You maybe not. I mean, so we know that they're going to be a ramping up that we're going to have to kind of get through. I mean, the federal government, they just put out on the street $1.1 trillion, which is amazing. I mean, never before have they done that in one setting, and they did it within a week time. So I think you hear from the federal government, you're hearing from the state government. We're going to do what we need to do to try to get us through. But there's going to be a time where we're all going to have to realize we're not going to normal from day one. We're going to all have to understand that there's going to be a phasing in to us to get back to. And what I would stress to you, and I think Jeremy asked this question earlier, I'm trying to get us to not think about normal as it was before we went into the lockdown. I'm trying to say, when we come out of this, we need to have a system that's going to help those who were on the bottom before the lockdown and those who are going to be struggling way more than other people because of the lockdown. We have to kind of have our resources go to support them first, and then have it filter in the back way.
And Representative Wheatley, if I can tack one thing on just specifically, again, from the history teacher's perspective, Quay, the thing I want to point out to you is that we now are on a different financial system than Germany was at the end of World War I, when that hyperinflation happened going into World War II. The issue with Germany at that time was that they were on what's called the gold standard, which means that they had a certain amount of gold that was backing up each dollar or Deutschmark at the time that it was called. And so they started printing paper money, but their amount of gold was the same. So if you're dividing that same amount of gold between 1,000 times as many bills, each bill is going to be worth less. So you're right. People were wallpapering their houses with Deutschmarks after World War I because they're worthless. But the system has evolved since then to the point that now, not only are we not on a gold standard, but we share a non-gold standard with most of the other largest economies in the world. So the system is different enough now that that shouldn't be possible anymore.
Okay.
Thank you. It was a good
question. I love that you asked that question. It made me so happy.
Yeah, that was
Thank you.
we have a question from Austin, and I think we're going to have to let Representative Wheatley go. I know you're busy. We're taking your hour away from you, so
That's all right.
we do appreciate it. So, Austin, you want to ask the final question?
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate the time. I just wanted to try to add a positive spin to this, where I think that we can take this unique circumstance as a way to reflect. Students, I just want to acknowledge that your frustration is coming from a place that I know it's like your desire to succeed and better yourself and the people around you. And it's really sad that this is coming as well around sort of one of the most fulfilling times of your school year, where you get your grades back, you do the prom, all of that. And that's certainly very tragic, but just wanted to point out that this unique time gives us a new way, or allows for us to take a new way to reflect on ourselves and how we learn, and to learn new things in a different way. And let alone there's also a lot of energy that's going to be built up during this time. So who knows what we can accomplish when we come back from this. And people are just sort of refreshed and just excited to be back out. And was wondering if you had a comment on that, Jake, Representative Wheatley.
No, I definitely appreciate that, and I agree. I think this time is an opportunity for us to, one, really appreciate the things that we were taking for granted before the time. I know I have.
Yes.
I've come to really appreciate interacting with people, and when at times I was trying to avoid some people, you know. So believe me, I think this is a time that really helps us doing that. And the other thing I think, and again, I appreciate what you said, Austin. I think the fact of the matter is, a lot of our young folk are going through transitions, and this is a very important year for many of them. And that's why I think that you will find that there will be a lot of people trying to help support you once we come from out of this, to really make sure that you don't feel like you lost that special moment in time. And hopefully we won't be here longer than May or June. But whenever the case will be, I think you will find that there will be a lot of people and organizations being willing to help you feel like you didn't lose some part of your year.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, part of the reason why we started doing this, and I know Austin's not, your team is not part of School to Career, but we invite you to the family. We have these Zooms twice a day until the kids go back to whatever their assignments are going to be like. We're going to have tutoring. We have a speaker every week. So just, you can join the School to Career family. We want you all to not just focus on your academics, but we're silly. We get on Zoom and we act silly and we play stupid games, and just to make the day go a little bit faster. We are definitely going to be here for you on this technology. On the 13th, I think the 16th of March was our first Zoom, or the 18th. And I've had a Zoom birthday party. We have Zoom happy hours and Zoom dinners.
And my stupid dad jokes aren't going away. I got to let them out somewhere.
Exactly. So you all are helping us as much as we're trying to help you all. So however we can support, we're going to be here throughout whenever. I have a 12th grader too, so I feel for all the seniors, but we're going to do a School to Career graduation or something. We'll do something virtually. I know, Serena, that is not cool, but we're going to acknowledge our graduating seniors virtually on our Facebook page, on our here we have Twitter, right, Kathy? Whatever social media platform
Face tweet.
And also, face tweet. And we'll, try to get it out to our, community partners. Maybe, we can get it on Representative Wheatley's site, just, so we can acknowledge these seniors graduating that may not be able to walk for a while.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that. And any of your students who find themselves in need of some service or some connection or whatever, if we can be of any assistance, let us know. We want to make sure that as best possible, we keep and support our families and our students. Yeah. So whatever we can be able to help, if there's information or there are clarities or there's some connections of resources that are necessary, let us know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative Wheatley,
Thank
for
you all.
being with us today. We're sorry we took your whole hour, but
It's all
we'll
good.
definitely be in touch to let you know what's happening at School to Career and OPDC. And I can't thank you enough. It's always an honor to talk to you, and thanks for sharing your afternoon with us.
Yes, thank you
No
very
problem.
much.
Have a good one. Stay safe. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
All right.
you.
And thank you all for being here and being a part of this. We're really glad to have you. And Austin, thank you for being here and for bringing some of your crew with you as well.
Absolutely. You all had so I can't unmute everybody fast enough. I'm sorry.
Can I say something before we end?
Absolutely.
So I just want to say, are you guys bored? Because I've been bored.
That's Brianna.
Yeah.
Brianna, you have to join our Zooms.
Brianna, I am volunteering to do yard work and dishes at my house. My wife is like, no, I was in the middle of doing the dishes. I was like, I need something to do. So you are not alone.
Exercising.
Thank goodness I have dogs because I'm taking them for walks and they're at the point now, they're like, this is the 6th one today. I want to take a nap, Dad. And I'm like, no, we're going for walks.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been bored. I can't. I think I'm busier now at work than I was when I was in the office.
Agreed. Yeah, because it's always in the office.
Exactly. So I like hanging out.
Stir crazy for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely
Taylor, can you hear
crazy.
me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Brianna, if you want to be coming in and joining in any of the activities we're doing cahoots with everything from like movie trivia to our actual Microsoft Office curriculum. We're doing, some organization stuff and some like how to determine fake news and how to stay up on the news. So if you want to join in, feel free to let one of us know and we'd be happy to add you to the Google Classroom and you can join in on all the Zooms and can be part of the School to Career family. So
Absolutely. And homework is going to start soon and you all are going to have questions. So yeah, it's like, yay, homework.
I have a lot of homework.
Okay, Mr. Jeremy is actually a teacher, so we do have a full-time teacher on our staff, but we do have a team of volunteer tutors that are PIT students that have some time throughout the day. So we're working with them to bring our tutors back. So we will have time set up from 2 until 6 for tutoring either via Zoom or a Google Hangout. It will be supervised by one of our staff so that we know, because we don't know who we're going to be working with, but we, want to make sure that our tutors are covered, our students are covered, and anyone that is seeking help is in a safe environment. So if you are interested in that, I believe, Austin, I know you have our contact information. It's not like you're signing up for School to Career. It's just a resource we're offering as a Pittsburgh Public School partner to all of the kids in high school. And I know we don't have the capacity for all of them, but we're definitely focusing on Hill District and youth that are in our partner program. So if you're a part of the G Center or CARES, Shenley Heights, what's the other one? ACH, all of those Hype partners, we are, making sure that those youth get support.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you guys so much. We can hang out all night. No.